Hey there. It's Adam. Um, I'm starting a little late today. I lost track of the time, but we can still read some. Webb looked down at his talons and shook his head. That doesn't mean anything, Glory thought, but she remembered the Mudwing village and Clay's mother, who had sold one of her eggs to the towns of peace for a couple of cows. She hadn't missed Clay at all, and she certainly didn't want him back. Glory hoped her parents wouldn't be like that. Both Clay and Tsunami had been disappointed. Maybe parent dragons were always disappointing, especially when you'd spent years dreaming about what they might be like. Well, Glory didn't particularly care whether her parents were the most amazing dragons in the world. She just wanted to meet other rainwings and show her friends that they weren't all lazy eaters, like the other tribes thought. With their camouflage scales and secret venom, surely they had to be tougher and stronger than anyone suspected. Maybe it's a new monster, Clay suggested. Something that's come to the rainforest since you were here 6 years ago. Maybe, Webb said. The Talons never sent anyone down this way. I can't tell you much about this place either, Starlight said, worrying, worrying at one of his claws. There were almost no scrolls about the rainforest or the dragons who live here. Glory knew that Glory knew that. She'd memorized every reference she could find anywhere to the Rainwings, and put all together, they told her essentially nothing. They'd been one, there had been one scroll called "The Dangers of the Rainforest," so she knew a fair amount about quicksand, poisonous snakes, and deadly bugs. But even that one barely mentioned the Rainwings themselves, and certainly nothing about creatures big enough to massacre Mudwing soldiers. Something chattered loudly in the branches overhead, and they all jumped. It was just a monkey, Glory said fiercely, clamping down on her nerves so her scales wouldn't change color. Or a, a toucan, or something. Can we eat toucans? Clay asked hopefully. Only if we can catch them, Tsunami said. She flexed her wings and glanced up at the branches and the vines overhead. Glory wasn't hungry anymore. Now that the sun had finally come out, each touch of sunlight felt as if it filled her up better than any cow. With a twinge of guilt, she remembered the Skywing Palace and the sculptured tree Queen Scarlet had set up to display Glory on, like a piece of treasure. There had been so much sun there, nothing like she'd ever seen in her whole life under the mountain. Queen Scarlet would roll Glory into the sunlight and let her change colors however she wanted all day long. She didn't try to talk to her. She never touched her or yelled at her or insulted her or compared her to anyone. Scarlet's only wish had been for Glory to sleep and be beautiful. But I didn't love it, Glory told herself fiercely. It was just new and different. A new, different way to be a prisoner and have my life chosen for me. I'm more than just a lump of treasure. I just I guess Scarlet found that out the hard way. Go! Tsunami leaped into pose, her teeth bared, with Clay a step behind her. The others stopped as she glanced around, looking for the source of the noise. I'm telling you, Glory said, it's only toucans. There's nothing to be scared of. You're just jumpy. Now why would we be jumpy? Tsunami said. Oh, right, the dead bodies. At least I told you about them, Glory said, her ruff flaring. You saw a dead body of someone we knew on the day one of the Kingdom of the Sea and decided not to tell us. Guys, Starflight said. That was different. That was Kestrel, Tsunami cried. I had to find a way to tell you properly. Super job you did there, Glory said. Guys! Starflight yelled. They stopped and looked back at him. He was turning in frantic circles, staring out at the trees. It took Glory a moment, but she realized what he had been looking for right before he said, Where's Sunny? They all fell silent. Sunny had vanished into thin air. Sunny! Clay bellowed on the top of his lungs. She was mad, Starflight fretted. Maybe she ran off because she was mad at us. She was? Clay asked. Why was she mad? Glory couldn't remember either. Run off into a strange rainforest on her own, Tsunami said. That's not like her. Lori closed her eyes and ransacked her brain. Poisonous snakes, deadly swarms of ants. What were the other dragons of the rainforest? Quicksand? She opened her eyes and peered at the ground, but it was all plain dirt, tree debris, and tangled roots. Nothing looked like quicksand. Sunny! Sunny! Clay yelled again. Tsunami growled. We made it through the Sky Kingdom and the Kingdom of the Sea without losing anyone. And now we're 2 minutes into the rainforest and one of us is gone? She's not gone, Starflight said, his voice vibrating with panic. She can't be. She has to be here somewhere. I was looking at her only a few moments ago. Glory turned her gaze up into the tree. Another gray sloth hung from a nearby branch, yawning. It looked like perhaps the least threatening creature she'd ever seen. She frowned at it. Webs, what do you think happened? Tsunami demanded, following Glory's gaze. There was no response. They all turned around. Webs was gone too. No way, Clay said, flaring his wings. He was just here. I saw his face when we realized Sunny was gone. Maybe 10 seconds ago. He couldn't have disappeared in 10 seconds. But he did, Starflight cried. He did, and Sunny did, into thin air. Ouch, Tsunami said, clapping his hand to her wet neck. Something just stung me. Clay jumped and clawed his neck as well. Starflight's eyes went wide, and then he threw himself to the ground and rolled under the nearest low-hanging branch with his wings under his head. What in the world are you? Glory started, ducking to look at him. She heard a soft buzz of something whirred by her ear. Something followed by a tiny thunk as it hit the tree behind her. She spun and saw Clay literally disappear in front of her, as if the rainforest leafed out its leafy arms, quietly wrapped him up and bundled him away. One moment he was there, blinking dizzily, and the next he was gone. A heartbeat later, so was Tsunami. Aha, Glory thought. She planted herself next to Starflight's hiding spot and reared her ruff. She couldn't sense the waves of pale orange and dark red rippling across her scales. But she didn't. Try to hide them. She didn't care if her audience knew she was angry. That's enough, she called. Come out here right now. There was a pause, and the air seemed to shimmer for a moment, and suddenly a dragon the color of raspberry stood in front of her, grinning. Glory had never seen anyone else use camouflage scales like hers. It was startling and unsettling, and kind of the coolest thing she'd ever seen. Holy moons, she thought. That is awesome. We do that. Rain wings like me. Another dragon, dark blue, dappled with gold, appeared besides the first. She was grinning too. Rustling overhead made Glory look up. Suddenly the trees were full of dragons. Rain wings curled around the trunk, hung from branches by their tails. Several of them were colors she'd never even imagined. She saw deep shades of violet, incandescent peach, pale jade, and a yellow so bright it was like being stabbed in the eyes with the sun. We are beautiful. Oh, look, said the raspberry dragon. She's happy to see us. He beamed at her, and Glory realized that small bubbles of pink rose were rising up from her talons to her wings. Poor little dragonette, murmured the dark blue rain wing. Why are her scales so dull? Glory blinked. Is she talking about me? Shh, don't be rude, said the first rain wing. Hello, tiny one. I'm Jambu. This is Liana. What's your name? Why don't we know you already? Glory. And the easily terrified black one is Starflight, she said. She glanced behind her and saw Starflight peering out from under the bush. Where are my friends? The dark blue dragon, Liana, tilted one of her wings up at the trees. Amid the dragons were clustered overhead were 4 hanging nets woven of vines. Sunny, Webs, Clay, and Tsunami were inside. They all had their eyes closed and hung limply like sacks of fish. Are they okay? Starflight cried. Sleeping darts, said the raspberry dragon, producing a tiny blowgun from a pouch on its neck. Let's just say we have some tree frogs around here you don't want to lick. Your friends will wake up fine in a few hours. It's easier to meet new dragons this way, said Liana. We've had a couple of grumpy brown ones stumble in here before, and for some reason they start biting us before we can even say hello. This way we get to chat first, while they're still a bit groggy. Plus it's more fun, said Jambu. Practicing dart shooting on ourselves isn't the same. They probably won't think it's so fun, Glory said, especially the blue one. She can be a little cranky, just to warn you. So, are we your prisoners now? Starflight asked glumly. The dark blue dragon burst into the gales of laughter, and amused noises swept through all the trees. Rainwings don't take prisoners, funny little black dragon, Leona said when she could speak again. Whatever would we do with them? Interrogate them for information? Glory suggested. Trade them for hostages or weaponry? Contain them to minimize threats. The Rainwings blinked at her as she started speaking toucan. Just a few ideas, she said with a shrug. If we're not prisoners, Starflight said, then what are you going to do with us? Well, said the raspberry dragon, glancing up at the position of the sun over the canopy. Is anyone hungry? And then the trees began to scream. Alright, I think that would be it because it's 10:20 now. I'm sorry for getting on a little bit late today. I will be on at the right time tomorrow. Good night. Love you guys.